you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the full board authority meeting. It's Thursday, February the 18th, 2021. I will please ask our executive coordinator, Grant Vavol, to please do the roll call.
Good morning, everyone. Beginning with Member Beatty. Oh, he is there. I see him. Member Brady.
I'm here.
Member Clarke.
I'm here.
Member Kuhn-Peterson. Member Cridland.
Here.
Member Fjord.
Present.
Member Foster.
Good morning.
Member Halinga.
I'm here.
Member Hewson.
Present.
Member Ngreo.
Present.
Member Kawal. Member Kawal. Member Mackenzie.
Present.
Member Metcalf.
Present.
Member Rapley.
Here.
Member Shurton. Member Shurton. Member Smith.
Yes.
Member Steele.
Here.
Member Woodhouse.
Present.
And we know Member Wright is absent.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. The Niagara Peninsula watershed is located on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples dating back countless generations. We want to show our respect for their contributions and recognize the role of treaty making in which is now Ontario. Just some housekeeping items, folks. Can everybody please mute yourselves? And after you finish speaking, would you please mute yourself again? Feel free to use the chat line, which is at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, if you want to ask a question, or just wave frantically and I'll try and grab you. So I just see that Member Kawal has joined us. Good morning, Ken. I can take you on the roll call now. So also for efficiency matters, I will just ask who is opposed. If I find that there are too many opposed or more than a few, then we will do a roll call on that particular vote. So it is moved by Member Beatty, seconded by Member Brady, that we approve the agenda. Is there any opposition?
Chair Johnson.
Sorry? Sure. Member Smith?
Thank you. Report FA 1221, which is marked as an in-camera report. I've gone through the report and I've gone through our policy on in-camera, and I'd like to ask the board to consider moving FA 1221 to the open session if possible. I struggled to define how it fit into the in-camera, but maybe I'm missing something.
No, that's not a problem. Whenever you appoint a member to a committee, their name does not become public until after this board approves it. If anyone has any questions, right now it is considered, it's in the open session right now, but if anyone has any concerns or comments about that individual, then we need to go in camera. It's only a footnote. It doesn't mean it is in camera. We can do this actually in the open session, and the minute we approve it, then it becomes public. So unless someone has concerns or questions about the appointee, then it stays public. If you have any questions or concerns because it's talking about an individual, we will go in camera to address your concerns or your comments. Does that help?
No, sorry, and I didn't want to cut you off, but I think
that's okay.
Maybe I've misquoted, and I'm just checking my notes, but it's not actually the appointment of personnel report. It's the report. I thought I wrote it down as FA 1221, which is the report on Bill 229.
Oh, no, that shouldn't be in camera at all. The only thing in camera that we're doing today is the appointment of that person on the Public Advisory Committee and the CAO's evaluation. That's the only two things we're going in camera for. We'll correct that accordingly.
Sorry,
Okay.
if I may say as well, folks, it was something that was circulated late. It wasn't circulated with the original agenda. It was circulated with the closed session items, but it wasn't meant to be closed session. And I'm sorry if my email wasn't clear when I sent that. It is an open session item.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, nope, no worries. Any opposed for approving the agenda as stated? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any declarations of interest on this agenda today? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody waving frantically. So then it's moved by member Clarke and seconded by member Cridlin that we approve the full authority of minutes meeting dated January the 21st. And also, while we're at it, we're going to do the closed session meeting that was held the very same day. So we have two sets of meeting minutes there. It has been moved by member Clarke, second by member Cridlin. Any questions, concerns, any opposition? Seeing none, thank you. They've been approved. Now we're moving on to correspondence. Correspondence 4A is from Anne Marie Norio, Regional Clerk, Niagara, dated January 25th, 2021, to the NPCA re the Niagara official plan, steps and directions moving forward. This is to receive. Are there any questions or concerns to receive this correspondence? Thank you, Member Hewson.
I just wanted to bring attention to this item because I know it's one that we've had significant interest from our committees from. And one of the things that we're going to be approving as part of the official plan work is the natural heritage component. And we've had a number of public information sessions on that. Originally, there were some options presented. I think the staff had thought that we would be presenting a hybrid option. I don't believe that's the direction that they're taking at the moment, and they will be making a recommendation on a specific option. So I just wanted to bring that to the committee's attention for transparency, and also to let them know that we're expecting that report to come forward in April. So if there's an opportunity to I guess keep an eye out for that and to provide comments to your relevant councillors or people of the region should you feel strongly towards one option over the other. So I just want to bring that forward for everyone's attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Reminder to everybody, please mute yourselves if you're not speaking. Thank you, and I see no opposition to receive. Thank you, and we're on to 4B. This is correspondence from Leslie Rich, Policy and Planning Liaison, Conservation Ontario, dated February the 4th, 2021, to Sarah Peckford, Food and Safety Environmental Policy Branch. This is regarding the Conservation Ontario's comments on the Drainage Act regulatory proposal, ERO number 019-2814. This is to receive, and it's moved by Member Fjord and seconded by Member Foster. Any comments, any questions, any concerns? Seeing none, thank you. It's been moved. The 4BII, this is a memorandum from Jason Culp, the NPCA supervisor, permits and compliance. This is dated February the 2nd, 2021, to Environmental Registry of Ontario, the Drainage Act regulatory proposal comments. They basically go hand in hand, but this is to receive. And it's moved by Member Halinga and seconded by Member Hewson. Concerns, questions? Member Mackenzie, Vice Chair Mackenzie, please.
Yes, thanks, Chair Johnson. I have one or two questions for staff in regards to this, if I may, and through you. My first question is that when drainage work is done, are conservation authorities consulted?
Thank you. Director Mackenzie?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Actually, I'd like to push this over to our supervisor of permits and compliance, Jason Culp. Being a drainage superintendent in the past, both him and myself have experienced this as well, but as he was the most recent one, I'll let him have the first crack at this.
Thank you. Is Jason online right now?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Jason. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Go ahead. Did you
No
hear the
problem
question,
at all.
sir?
Yes, I did. Yep, I've been listening in. To you, Member Mackenzie, through Chair Johnson. The short answer is yes. CAs are involved in the review and approvals of any municipal drain construction or maintenance activities. There's a specific process in place called the Drainage Act and Conservation Authorities Protocol. That's an agreed upon process by OMAFRA, the MNRF, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and the conservation authorities as to how we review, approve, and recommend mitigation or offsetting measures for any maintenance activities on municipal drains.
Thank you, Member Mackenzie.
Yes, so that that helps me. I think I may confer with staff later on through our CAO about some histories that I've observed. Thank you, Chair Johnson.
Thank you. And just to let you know, Member Kuhn Peterson just joined us and she's by phone. So, all right, thank you very much. So no objections to that. Again, moved by Member Halenga and seconded by Member Houston. And it is carried. We're now on to 4C. This is correspondence from Len Arts, President of the Welland River Floodplain Association, dated February the 10th, 2021. And this is to receive, and it's been moved by Member Ingrao and seconded by Member Kawal. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to turn the chair over to Vice Chair Mackenzie for 2 seconds to comment. This was a letter that was sent to me. And I totally understand the letter. I totally agree that public input is most important. And I think that's where we're headed for the Grimsby watershed and the floodplain mapping there. So thank you very much, Mr. Arts, for your correspondence. So thank you. And I'll take the chair back, if you don't mind, Member Mackenzie. And I see that Member Smith is on and would like to ask a question or concern.
Yeah,
Chairman, I have one too.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment because as I read that letter, I attribute much of it to comments that I would have made at the last board meeting. And so I'd like to make a comment on that just to clarify. First of all, I'm glad that they wrote that in. If any of my comments suggested that I advocate for citizens to be cut out of the process, then either my comments were not well worded or were misunderstood. And I did not go back and re-listen to the comments. So I don't know how to ascribe it, nor do I think it's that important. They misunderstood, I believe they misunderstood things because I also believe transparency and informing of citizenry and involving them by having public meetings to inform them is hugely important. What I don't believe is when it's a matter of science that we're consulting with citizens. We're not asking for their opinions on scientific matters. And that's the message that I was hoping to convey. I don't know if maybe my word selection was improper or not, but I felt it was important for me to clarify anyway.
Well, thank you, Member Smith. Well appreciated. Member Beatty, you're on.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would ask that that the watershed people, the watershed staff, Mr. McKenzie, set up a meeting as soon as we can under these circumstances to sit down and talk with the association. The NPCA spent 2 years developing a watershed plan for the Welland River and the Regulation 155, and they had a tremendous amount of input and really good input. I'd hate to damage the relationship that we have with them, and I would suggest that we sit down and that staff sit down and talk to them. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can take that as direction because I'd also like to be a part of that conversation since the letter was directed to me as well. So that's a good suggestion. Member Houston.
Very good.
I want to mute myself. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think we all agree that public input is a valued pillar of our organization and our democracy across Niagara. And if you look at our agenda today, you can see that it's quite infused with public opinion, and that our actions certainly reflect that value. So I'm just hoping we can maybe be mindful of comments because, you know, and certainly even the citizen appointments on this committee are very valued members of our committee and provide valuable input regardless of our area of specialization. So I just want to reaffirm that I think that, you know, public input is a value that we hold very dear, and that we be careful about maybe giving the impression that it isn't. And I appreciate Member Smith's comments about that.
So do I appreciate his comments. Thank you. So seeing no further speakers, it has been moved by Member Ingrao, second by Member Kawal. There are no presentations and there are no delegations today, but we're moving on to consent items. This is the 2020 and final annual report for the Niagara Region Tree and Forest Conservation Bylaw from 2008 to 30 report number. And this is to receive. Director Darren McKenzie is available for any questions. So just to let you all, remind you all that the MOU has been is going to be finished shortly, and this is the final report from our staff member regarding this, the tree and forest conservation. So are there any questions or comments for Director McKenzie? Member Hewson.
So I'm certainly I'm hitting it out of the park today, I guess. I just wanted to ask if this report could be circulated to the Agricultural Policy and Action Committee at the region, because they're going to be taking over reviewing these reports on behalf of the region as a committee. And I think it would be valuable for them to see how these items were reported in the past, and maybe that will help frame an expectation of what kind of reporting they will expect in the future. So I think there is some value in sharing it with them.
So Director McKenzie, would you like to comment on that, where the report ends up?
By all means. Thank you. Through you, Chair Johnson. Member Hewson, the actual report gets submitted actually every year to the Niagara region. So they do have this report because it is their property. We submit it to them, and then we bring it to the board for review of what has been done. But we can also send this directly to them as well.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess my only concern with that is if it's circulated and ends up on a regional agenda, it won't necessarily end up on that committee agenda, and that committee has some citizen members on it as well. So I want to make sure that it gets in front of their eyes, in addition to council's eyes.
Through you, Chair Johnson, Member Hewson, we definitely can make that happen.
Okay, thank you. And it's been moved and seconded. No, it hasn't. Sorry. Vice Chair McKenzie, seconded by Member Metcalf, that it be received, and with our thanks to the staff for our job well done. No, that's carried. So now we're on to discussion items, folks. We're at report number FA0621. This is the Board of Directors meeting schedule. Just to give you a heads up, if you haven't already read it, we did the polling, and it's like having family reunion time. We can't get everybody in the same room at the same time, and it's been a yeoman's job. And our executive coordinator, Grant Bevo's, done an amazing job trying to get everybody herded in like cats. And it turns out that Friday mornings has been the overall popular vote. So Grant, is there anything you wanted to add to that report?
Not particularly. I don't know whether Friday has been popular or not, but it's certainly the day that everyone seems to be available. Take it as it is, folks.
Well, there goes our long weekend. Anyway. Anyways, so it is moved by Member Rapley and seconded by Member Smith that it be received and approved. No opposition. Thank you. So we'll see you next month on Friday morning, whatever day that is. Sorry, I don't have it in the top of my head. So now we're on to 8B. This is report number FA0721. This is the Grimsby and Lincoln floodplain mapping update and formal adoption. Senior Manager Steve Miller is here to answer any questions or comments, and we need to approve this. So I'm going to put it on the floor. Member Steele and Member Woodhouse seconding it. And Senior Manager Steve Miller, would you like to give us a very quick Cole's notes on this? Because you did a good job and the Public Advisory Committee was very supportive. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I've been asked to speak to this item, and Madam Chair, if you would approve, I've got just a brief slideshow, a couple of slides. I can either present that or I can simply speak to it now. It's your prerogative.
Well, if you find that it'll be easier for people to follow the bouncing ball, the 3 slides are fine.
Very good. Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move through this quickly. Just going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes, sir. That's great.
Okay, thank you. So as you recall, there were 9 watercourses in this study, 3 in Lincoln, 6 in Grimsby. Some had floodplain mapping that was undertaken more than 25 years ago. The results of this study was that the updated floodplain mapping generally conformed with the previous floodplain mapping. This updated floodplain mapping identified spill areas. Those were areas that are not confined floodplains, but rather unconfined. They're broad, they're shallow, and our policies treat them differently than confined floodplains. It offers far more flexibility for landowners found within these spill areas. Things that are allowed is additions to structures as long as floodproofing measures are undertaken. So it's a very flexible interpretation of the policy as opposed to a prohibitive one as we sometimes find in the confined floodplain. And the study also offered a series of floodproofing recommendations that the municipality may want to consider when in the fullness of time it comes time to upgrade road crossings, that kind of thing. Budget estimates were provided. This was simply high-level estimates for the municipality to use as part of their capital forecasting effort. In order to inform the public, 2 virtual meetings were held in December. 57 people attended these live events. The media campaign was robust, and linking back to the letter from the Welland River Floodplain Association, there were lessons learned during that process, and the Welland River Floodplain Association played a big part of that. One of the excellent suggestions they had was the idea to reach out to the public very actively, send out project postcards. And that worked well during the Welland River Floodplain project. And we did the same thing with the Grimsby and Lincoln floodplain mapping study. We received excellent comments from the public. As a matter of fact, we did the same thing for, if you recall, the Walker's Creek floodplain mapping project in the city of St. Catharines. Again, excellent response from the public. Getting the postcards, being informed of the study, that is forming the basis, the template of public engagement sessions to come. In this case, we sent out over 7,000 project postcards. We put ads in print media, posted on our social media posts, corporate website. You can see we had roughly 1,200 visitors to the project page. The floodplain maps and report were downloaded over 260 times. And over 900 people either viewed the recording of those public engagement sessions or went on to that little widget we had, Is My House in the Floodplain, where they can scroll around like in Google Maps and see the floodplain, find their house. And so we're really pleased with that level of engagement. We reached out to the municipalities and posted the virtual public engagement sessions on the municipalities' corporate calendars. So they showed up there. We sent emails, the project postcards to all municipal councillors and senior municipal staff. We had 57 comments that were either asked at the public engagement sessions or emailed to the Conservation Authority directly. couple of themes. The first theme, people generally understood the need to update old floodplain maps. We see 5 other common themes that were identified. You can read them there. I've gone into depth in the report. I won't go through them now, but I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yep, and last slide, the whole study's methodology, the results, the summary, the public engagement session was presented to the Watershed Floodplain Subcommittee, and after their consideration, the Watershed Floodplain Subcommittee recommended that the NPCA Board of Directors adopt this study and associated floodplain maps. And that's all I have. I will unshare.
Thank you.
And I'd be pleased, through you, Madam Chair, to answer any questions the board might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions, concerns, or is everybody just thrilled to death with this work? With that, I am. Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair McKenzie.
Just thank you, Chair Johnson. Just to repeat your phrase, I'm thrilled to death with the excellent professionalism that this organization has taken in terms of communicating with the public, working with them, listening to them, and anticipating their needs and the community's needs. This sets a standard, I think, that can be used by other public agencies and municipalities. My thanks to the staff and to the people responsible for organizing and putting this on. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Member Foster.
Find my unmute here. Okay, so a couple of things. One, the floodplains and having been involved with the Lincoln side of things for years and years and years, the floodplain mapping, particularly in the Camden area, has always been very difficult. So I suppose through to Steve, you're basically stating out of all of this that we're pretty much finding things the same as they were, or we're sort of been reiterating the floodplains. Were there any findings in that particular area that might have had us do some adjusting within that?
Thank you. Director Miller, or sorry, Senior Manager Miller.
Great. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the question. Camden, the watercourse that flows through Camden is our good friend, the Gavora Ditch. The Gavora Ditch is a tributary of 20 Mile Creek. 20 Mile Creek was not part of this study. This study focused on Beamsville Creek, or otherwise known as Conkle Creek, Bartlett Creek, and Prudhome's Creek. So lands below the escarpment.
Thank you. Member Foster.
Okay, good. Well, okay, so that needs to be one that's put onto the list at some point in time, because I can tell you the town of Lincoln, and as well a lot of the planning that was going on in that area, there was a lot of head scratching with that. So that's fine. So that's obviously coming in the future. Question for you on the health of these tributaries. We're looking at the mapping that's going on. Are there other things that we do as the NPCA to take a look at the health of these particular water areas? And the reason I ask that is that I know the Bartlett one through downtown Beamsville, there's always been some questions about that particular watershed area. So anyway, just a question on that to you as well, Steve.
Great. Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the question. So when we look at floodplain mapping, we're typically interested in the location or the extent of the natural hazard, the flood hazard. The health of the watershed, erosion issues, that's generally a different beast. But that doesn't mean to say that the Conservation Authority isn't interested in that at all. The Conservation Authority, you recall, has a robust water quality monitoring program that we take a look at the quality of surface water throughout our watershed, including the watercourses in Lincoln. And I can tell you that generally the water quality in our watershed is no different from that of any other watershed in Southern Ontario. It's impacted by urbanization.
Hang on a second, Steve. You're sort of starting to echo here. So if you've got a different microphone on. So if you got it, or Stu, I think you just signed in twice, so I think that's where we're getting a lot of the echoing. Okay, go ahead, Steve, try that.
And so, long story short, we monitor the water quality. That's one of the Conservation Authority's programs. And our restoration program is set up to try and improve the quality of our surface water by implementing projects on the ground in the field, riparian buffers, wetlands, that kind of thing. So the short answer to your question is the floodplain mapping study itself does not address the health of the water course, but our other programs give a checkup, give a grade to the quality of the water quality monitoring program, and our restoration program follows up to try and improve things in the surface water. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Mackenzie.
Oh. You're going to let me finish off?
Oh, sorry, member. My brain just fried there for a second. I thought it was Member Mackenzie. Member Foster, sorry, my apologies.
That's okay, Chair Johnson. You do come from Hamilton, so there we go. So anyway, yes, thank you very much for that. And so obviously with my leading comments, there's going to be more discussion that I'll be having with staff as we're going down the road with some of these things. But I think it's a great job that you guys have done with this, and it's going to be extremely helpful to the municipalities. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers. My apologies, Member Foster. All right, so we have it moved by Member Beatty, second by Member Brady, that we approve the Grimsby and Lincoln floodplain mapping. And no objections. Thank you. We're now moving on to report FA 08-21. This is the Richardson Creek floodplain mapping and priority study formal adoption. Again, Senior Manager Steve Miller is here for any questions or concerns. Any questions, concerns regarding the Richardson Creek floodplain mapping? Sorry, I think I hear Senior Manager Miller. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if there are questions, I'd be pleased. I have a similar presentation for Richardson Creek as I presented for Grimsby and Lincoln. However, if there are no questions, I'm pleased to forego it. It's your pleasure.
Okay, I'll be at the committee's pleasure. What would you like? Are we okay to approve it? We have we've all read the report. Thank you. So, Senior Manager Miller, you have a lot of confidence in this board today. Good for you. So it has been moved by Member Clarke and seconded by Member Kuhn-Peterson to approve the report FA-0821, the Richardson Creek floodplain mapping and priority study formal adoption. No objections. Thank you. We're now moving on. Oh, thank you, Senior Manager. We're now moving on to report number FA-0921. This is the progress update. Basically, this is the Auditor General's report. And I'm going to turn to CAO Chandra Sharma for an update for us, please. How are we doing?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Through you, I will take any questions. The report is pretty simple. It's based on the information collected by the Auditors General's office starting March of 2020. When she started working on her progress report, she does an annual progress report. We are a chapter in her report, and this is the information verified, collected through the summer from March until August and September. You can see from the report, we are doing pretty well. 56% is completed and the rest is underway. There are some areas where she rated us as not completed or no action, and we've provided an explanation to the Auditor General. That explanation is provided in the table in your report. I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the members, please? Thank you, Member Kawal.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to CAO. Has the Auditor General now completed her work? And by that I mean she did the original report, she came back 2 years later, Is there any expectation that there is a follow-up, a future follow-up, or does the responsibility now completely shift over to the board to ensure the completion of these outstanding items?
Through you, Chair Johnson, to Member Kawal, it's my understanding that this was her progress report on a variety of audits that she completes through the year and over the course of time. We haven't got any indication from her office that she'll be coming back or completing. So at this time, we're not clear that if she's coming back and asking for more information. I will be following up with her office to clarify that.
Thank you, Member Kwal.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask you about one of the recommendations in there. It's recommendation number 9. It's listed right now as, it's got 2 parts to it. One part is fully implemented and the second part is in process. As I read the Auditor General's report from December 2020, this is the recommendation with respect to the policies around development near wetlands. And she cited specifically, let me read what it says. We found that the new policy regarding development near wetlands is more permissive than both the 2007 policies and the 2013 interim directives, and may be more permissive than the direction set out in the regulation under the Act. It's that last clause that has got me a little concerned. Now, I know that we are currently reviewing our policies, and that activity is not scheduled to be complete until the end of the year. I'm concerned that this is a bit of a red flag here that needs, I think, more immediate attention than waiting till later in the year to fully understand whether or not our policies are actually more permissive than the regulation. And I'm wondering if we could maybe ask that the response to this particular recommendation be delegated to the Governance Committee for them to do a little bit further review, especially in light of the Auditor General's 2020 update report.
Chandra, do you have thoughts on that?
To you, Madam Chair, I'll ask Darren to support me with the response on this, but I can tell you it was my understanding the question was primarily based on if we were consistent with the provincial policy statement, our policies. And we provided a long memo to her detailing everything that was our understanding and professional understanding from a planning perspective. And she seems to be satisfied with that. Again, it's the board decision to direct this item to the Governance Committee, and we'll be happy to deal with that there. Darren, you have anything to add to that?
Through you, Chair Johnson. Thank you, Chandra. Member Kawal, we are doing that full review this year, but as I said, it does take time because we will have to verify through not only provincial policy, the regulation, if it changes on wetlands, which we're not sure, but other CAs, public consultation, final drafts, and approval by the board. And that takes time because not only are you looking at the wetland portion of our policy, that impacts other portions of the policy as well. So you can't just do it as one small section sometimes. You have to take the whole thing into consideration. So even though it says this year, it just has to be with the when you take into public consultation, the work involved. And I would love to have it done now, but it does take time to get those things through the system properly.
So Member Kawal, Member Kawal, if I can assist with this, that when the staff are ready to bring the report, it should go to governance first because it's policy related, and then it comes to the board for final approval. Does that satisfy your question?
Only partially. I think it's really a question for the board. I mean, we now have a public document from the Auditor General that says one of our policies may be more permissive than direction set out in the regulation, okay? And I think the board needs to, take a look at this and determine if we believe that that's true. All due respect to the CAO and Mr. Mackenzie about sending correspondence back to the Auditor General. But we haven't got a formal response back from her that says anything different than the published report. So I think we need to satisfy ourselves as to whether or not we're on side or off side of the regulation. And I'm not sure that this is something we should wait till later in the year for. So if this could be extracted and prioritized, I think that would be helpful for the board. So,
Point of order.
Thank you,
Madam
Member
Chair.
Foster. Point of order.
So, you know, if Member Kawal wishes this should be through a motion. We are actually interfering with work plans of the senior staff at the Niagara, the NPCA, and so, you know, by all means, if he feels appropriately with that, please put a motion forward and recommend it appropriately. But direction doesn't work with this one.
Thank you. I'll
I'm
accept
quite
that
happy
point
to
of
make
order.
a motion, Chair.
I'm sorry?
I'm quite happy to make a motion to do that.
Okay, if you want to work on that, I can come back and get that from you later if you don't, if you want, or do you think you can do this right now?
I think I can do it right now. You know. My motion would be that oversight of the response to recommendation 9 of the 2018 Auditor General's report be delegated to the Governance Committee for further review with due consideration of the comments noted in the AG's follow-up report of December 2020.
Okay, anybody seconding that? Oh, Member Fjord, you're seconding that? Thank you. Can we have anybody have comments, please? Oh, thank you, Member Foster.
So I'm sorry, Ken, that's probably one of the more wishy-washy motions I've heard in a while, and I can write some pretty good wishy-washy ones. So there's two parts to this. One is that you want to delegate to the Governance Committee right off the bat, and number two, this particular issue. So if you want to break it down and vote separately on the particular items, because I actually am not pleased with you know, with a part of it. So I'm just finding this a little bit on the mushy side. Now I see Mr. Clarke is putting up his hand. Hopefully he can explain how better to adjust this.
Thank you. Can everybody else shut off your mics, please? I'm hearing some feedback on my end. Member Clarke, your hand was up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if I understand the issue correctly, the Auditor General has made a comment in a subsequent report indicating that one of our policies may be offside of a regulation. Is that the sum total of the concern? Just the concern?
Are you asking Member Kawal or are you asking the CAO Sharma?
I think I'd be asking Member Kawal as the author of the motion.
So
Yes,
to the
Member.
mover,
Yes, Member Clarke, that is my concern. So,
thank you. Go ahead. Member Clarke, you still have the floor.
So, I think the inquiry needs to be that the CAO and staff review the concern that has been raised by the Auditor General and report back to the full board, not to governance. We need to understand exactly what the Auditor General is referencing, and from what I've heard this morning, I could not tell you exactly what policy is allegedly offline with the regulation. So we need that information from the CAO for us to determine whether or not we need to change any of that policy. And so while I completely respect Member Kawal's suggestion to send it to governance, governance would likely just be sending it back to staff to come back and report to us as to why does the Auditor General think one of our policies are offside. So I would suggest an amendment to Mr. Kawal's motion, and I'm suggesting it as a friendly one, that it not go to governance, that it go to staff with a report back to the board as to why the Auditor General is coming to this conclusion. Once we've got that report back, then we can decide as a board whether or not we need to modify that policy to ensure that it is congruent and compliant with the regulation. Does that make sense, Madam Chair?
Thank you. I'm just going to go to the mover of the motion now. The mover of the motion, does that make it clearer?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Member Clarke. Quite happy with that amendment.
So can you please, for the record, could you please repeat your motion with that amendment, please? Thank you.
That the oversight of the response to recommendation 9 of the 2018 Auditor General's report be delegated to staff for further review with a report back to the full board with consideration of the comments noted in the Auditor General's follow-up report of December 2020 regarding the policy that is potentially offside of the regulation.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the seconder of the motion. Member Fjord, you're fine with that wording? Thumbs up. Thank you. All right, CAO Sharma, do you have any comments before we vote?
Madam Chair, to you, I just wanted to see if David was online and he would briefly, he can speak to the provincial planning issue, but I guess that's not needed at this time. We can move on and bring back.
All right. Okay, so it's been duly moved by Member Kawal, seconded by Member Fjor. Member Foster, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So my objections are now removed as to what we're going on with this, but I would like to remove the editorializing at the end of it about offside with the province. That's inappropriate within a motion. We will find out through the CAO's report if we are whether it's good, bad, or indifferent on the thing. So a friendly amendment to the friendly amendment.
Thank you. And Member Kawal, well said from Member Foster. It's almost like it's predetermining the outcome. So can we just leave the direction as direction and let the report itself come up with the outcome?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and if you don't mind, Member Kawal, if you don't, could you please type that up and send it to our executive coordinator, Grant Bevo, for the minutes for the next meeting, please, so things are clear for everyone.
Yep, will do.
Thank you very much. Is there any objections to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, thank you. So it has been moved and seconded and it has been approved. So now this is the auditor's report as a whole. And I don't know if I had anybody mentioned yet. I'm sorry if I didn't, folks, I lost track. So moved by Member Cridlin and seconded by Member Fjord that the overall Auditor General's report given by CAO Sharma be approved. Any objections? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, so the next one, folks, is 8E. This is an appointment to the Public Advisory Committee. It's a member appointment. If anybody has any concerns or questions about that appointment, we would have to go in camera to discuss. If you're willing to approve it now, then it becomes public immediately after our approval. So I am now just going to put that out there that Member Foster, seconded by Member Halenga, that the member appointment that's in your confidential appendix be approved. Sorry, Member Foster.
Yeah, I would rather not be the mover or the seconder, and the only reason is that this particular person, while not in a conflict for me, is related back in and through my wife's family, and so I don't want to be seen as favoring one way or the other. But there is no conflict for me with it.
I'd almost joke around right now saying, well, I think we better go in camera now. Okay, so how about we make it Member Halenga and seconded by Member Houston that the person that has been mentioned in the confidential appendix be appointed to the Public Advisory Committee. And it has been moved and seconded. I don't see any questions or comments. It is now public. Congratulations to that newly appointed member. And I don't have it in front of me right now. So thank you. Now we're on to Bill 229. These are the implications of February 2021 and the proclamation of various provisions So CAO Sharma has been working diligently on the changes, and I think you can all agree that this has just been coming at us like a tidal wave. And Chandra's been doing her utmost to try to keep on top of the changes and to keep us updated. So I'm going to turn to our CIO right now to give us that report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. The report in front of you is based on the most recent direction provided by the province in regards to governance and other administrative provisions of the Conservation Authority Act, proclaimed on February 2nd, after most CAs, including NPCA, requested for clarity on the governance provisions. So we've got that now. The report deals with implications and next steps for NPCA related to governance matters. And in front of you are 4 recommendations proposed by staff. The first recommendation deals with the composition of the board. No changes are required at this time until the end of this term, which is the end of 2022. We also have clear direction now to request partner municipalities to determine and confirm board compositions and appointments to be completed in time for our next term AGM, which will be 2023. So that's the first recommendation, asking our regional municipalities to start the process of determining the 70-30 mix on the board membership, as well as the appointments to the next board. The second recommendation is simply a housekeeping or record-related action for NPCA staff to provide a copy of the existing municipal resolutions or order in council related to NPCA board composition and appointments from the previous term, which is done in 2018 and some in 2019, and staff are already on it and will be providing that to the minister. The third recommendation is related to the term of chair and vice chair. In coming up with this recommendation, staff have considered a few things. Our previous decisions, our current bylaw, and the need for our governance committee to discuss this in consultation with municipalities, as we have 3 municipalities. And this recommendation is about the rotation of the chair and term of chair and vice chair. So basically, based on that assessment, following that consultation, if we do decide to change that, if we do not want our chairs to rotate for 1 term or more than 1 term between the 3 municipalities, that's Hamilton, Niagara, and Haldimand, we will need to write to the minister to ask us for an exemptions, basically. So that all that will take time. So in the meantime, what we are recommending to keep it consistent and less disruption, staff are asking that the board consider reconfirming all the appointments. You've already accepted a change to or amendment to the bylaw at the January meeting. So we're asking you to carry on with that spirit, reappoint the chair, vice chair, and all the subcommittee members, and let the governance committee do their job and ask for an exemption in time, ready for the next AGM for 2022. So that's the third recommendation. And finally, we're asking that a copy of this report be provided to our member municipalities. I'll take any questions if members have any at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Kawal.
Thank you. CEO, your first recommendation about requesting partner municipalities to initiate the process of determining membership. As part of that exercise, is it our intention to provide the skills matrix from the NPCA to all of those municipalities as part of that request?
Yes, that's a requirement of the Auditor General. We've told her that we've developed a skill matrix and we have a copy ready. Everything will go as a package to the municipal clerk.
That's great. Is there any updating of that skills matrix that needs to go on before we send that out? Or?
It is my understanding that the governance, Misty is online, she can attest to that, but I think we just updated it recently.
With board approval, I believe.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Member Beatty.
As part of that, as part of that first section, could we also ask the municipalities to comment on the size of the board?
Already done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Metcalf.
I believe we tried that once. I know that our mayor and Hamilton's mayor had met when the ruling came out of the court. Not sure the justice name that allowed the increase in the board, but I know that our mayor from Haldeman and Hamilton had that discussion about the size of the board and where things were going at that time. So I don't know if that would bring any solution or not.
Yeah. So just to update everybody, and I've got member Mackenzie and then I have member Foster. So I'll wait till everybody's spoken and then I'll give you some updates if they haven't been already covered. So member Mackenzie, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. In regards to Bill 229 and the composition of the boards, am I correct that there will be a member from the agricultural community appointed to the boards? Thank you. In light, that I think is appropriate. But in light of that, I would like to mention some shortfalls. There is no call for a representative from the mental health sector, nor from the physical health sector, nor from the education or the insurance agency. I find this shallow. And these are just some of the sectors or interests in the community that should be represented on conservation authority boards. By design, the province since 1946 made conservation authorities the foundation of a network of natural lands to provide proper watershed management and access to natural lands for the people. As our populations grow, our responsibilities grow for providing proper and increasing access to natural areas. We all have the responsibility of recognizing that people care about the natural world. They want and demand access to it, and they want it protected, and they want it close to home to enhance their quality of life. It is our job to make sure that people representing the community on conservation authority boards care about what the community needs and wants. I wish that in the future, as participating municipalities select members for their boards, whether they be council members or citizens, that those being appointed bring a holistic outlook to the role of our conservation authorities and the community's needs. Thank you, Chair Johnson.
Well said, Vice Chair. Well said. Thank you. Member Foster.
Yeah, just a quick comment, and by the way, thank you to Vice Chair Mackenzie. So yes, speaking of discussions, there have been going on between Niagara and Hamilton as well. So my expectation is that all of this will be coming into alignment as this year is going along, and hopefully we can have a solid plan going in and be put in place for after the next election. There's an awful lot of moving parts here with all of this, and I think we've made progress on a few of them already, and so we'll see where we're going. So definitely everybody's looking at a much smaller board than what it was that we've had in the past. This, all of us, we all enjoy being with each other on a Thursday or Friday morning, but the reality is that this is a bit of an unwieldy board, and so the answer is that there will be something else coming into play, and that's to be negotiated on a political level. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Houston.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I think I just want some clarity. I think CAO Sharma spoke to this, and it's referenced in the report, that there's the NPCA is required to submit any existing council orders in council on the number of total conservation authority members and number of members per participating municipality in a conservation authority to the minister within 60 days of February 2nd. So are you saying that we have to submit, I guess, any orders of council that speaks to our current composition, and there has to be an exemption ordered for us to allow to continue as a board with? No? Okay, I was hoping that wasn't correct. But could you explain, please? You're muted.
And Diana, when you're speaking, would you mind just speaking straight into the mic?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh.
No. Member Houston, can you speak right into the microphone? Because there was a couple of times, and I'm getting really old and I don't have hearing aids yet. Go ahead, CAO Sharma.
Through you, Chair Johnson, the expectation is for us to provide to the ministry any documentation related to the current composition of the board. Only for conservation authorities that have changed their composition since the original order in council must have sent to the ministry way back. It is my understanding that in Niagara last term, our board changed significantly the composition. So for us then, it's my interpretation in discussions with Conservation Ontario and the ministry that that's a requirement for NPCA. So Grant and I will work with municipal clerks and will find the documentation and simply submit it to the minister. At this time, there's no expectation to change anything. It's for the next round.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Super. Seeing no other speakers, I just wanted to also bring members up to date that Member Foster is correct that our mayor in Hamilton, Fred Eisenberger, has been talking with the regional chairperson, Mr. Bradley, about the makeup of the board and the amount of spots on the board when they look at the budget compared to other CAs and how do we compare as far as members the makeup is. So stay tuned for that. And also, I think just to let you know that Member Bilsma's space will not be filled at this time, according to the regional chair. Because of these changes that are coming down the pipe, I think that everybody's in a wait and see to get all the composition created properly, the way that they want it, and then they'll look at whether they need to fill that space or not. So I don't know if that's clear as mud, but the direction from the regional chair is that that space will not be filled at this time. Okay. So it has been moved, I believe, Member Foster and Member Ingrail, that Bill 229, that the 4 recommendations proposed by the CAO Sharma be approved. Any objections? Seeing none. Thank you, and it's been approved. We're now on to discussion items. These are committee reports. 9.1 is Strategic Planning Committee. I need approval or receipt for the minutes of the Strategic Planning Committee meeting dated January the 21st, 2020, and it's moved by the chair of Kawal, and it's seconded by Vice Chair Mackenzie for the board. Any questions, concerns, comments? Member Kawal.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just give a little bit of extra color commentary to the minutes?
Just
Vice Chair Vice Chair Houston and I were very pleased with the last strategic planning meeting and the work that the consultant did in getting the SWOT analysis. You will remember that the SWOT analysis was requested of the board members. Thank you. I think we had 19 of 21 participating. There was also a SWOT analysis done with the staff, and the consultant did a great job of pulling it all together into one document that we could both digest easily and take to the next stages. A couple of really interesting points, that there was really no difference between the staff and the board SWOT analysis. So I think that was really strong reinforcement that we are seeing things and opportunities the same way. Secondly, we asked the consultant to comment on other organizations that he had worked with and whether we were in line with that. And he said, absolutely, we were. The only noted exception was what I would call the shadow of the AG's audit. Other organizations didn't have that to deal with. So we were very pleased with the work that has been done to date. I also want to call out Natalie Green as the project manager on this, who's doing a tremendous job of both engaging the consultant, continuing to drive and change the project plan as it evolves, and continuing to push us along. So I thought it was important that I just add that commentary to go along with the minutes. And the next steps are back with the CAO and Natalie at this stage, and we'll be coming forward at the next strategic planning committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was remiss, it's actually moved by member Kawal and it's seconded by the Vice Chair Hewson that the Strategic Planning Committee minutes be received. Any objections? Thank you everyone for all your hard work on that, by the way. It's been moved. Now we're on to the Watershed Floodplain Subcommittee. These are the minutes of the Watershed Floodplain Subcommittee meeting dated January 26, 2020. I think Ms. Senior Manager Steve Miller filled us in on most of the work that's being done there. So I have it moved by now Vice Chair Mackenzie, seconded by Member Metcalf. Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. So now there are no motions, no notices of motions right now. So I'm going to go straight to the CAO Sharma for some updates, if there are any. I believe our office will be slowly opening up again. Or no, oh, I forgot. Niagara's still. Oh, sorry, that was not meant to be a dig. I promise. Go ahead, CAO Sharma. How are you doing with the lockdown still?
Thank you, Chair Johnson. So now that you've mentioned the pandemic, let me start with that. So in keeping with the recent provincial orders regarding the pandemic, NPCA staff are continuing to work remotely and operate under current safety plan that we have. Field staff are working in the conservation areas and site visits are restricted to essential business. So that's an update on the pandemic. On February 17th, which was yesterday, we received a formal notification from Minister Clarke advising stakeholders that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing is launching a consultation on growing the size of Greenbelt. The consultation is open for 61 days and comments are due on April 19th. Our staff team will be looking at this and commenting on that. And if we can bring in time, we would like to bring our comments to you at the March meeting for your input and information. But I cannot promise on behalf of Seth, will all depend on our workload. But if there is any pressing idea or issue that you would like us to consider, feel free to give me a call or send me an email. I would also like to thank the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake for formally inviting NPCA to participate on their EAC advisory committee in an advisory capacity to help the town identify opportunities as a priority project for pollinator gardens. Our representative will be Carrie Royer. So thank you, Niagara-on-the-Lake, for thinking about us. NPCA's ice fishing season is currently on at Binbrook, and it's going really well. Next, working with town of Wainfleet, we will be launching a public survey for 30 days, starting Monday, February 22nd, to collect feedback from residents regarding the future use of Wainfleet wetlands and Corey conservation area. Residents of Wainfleet will receive a postcard invitation in the mailbox next week that will guide them to the online survey, which will be can also be found at getinvolved.npca.ca on our website. And residents can also call in either Wainfleet or NPCA to receive a hard copy survey from us. I have one staffing announcement. This week, Nigel Ward joined the NPCA team as the senior planning ecologist. I'm really proud to tell you that Nigel brings to the NPCA over 12 years of planning ecologist experience. He has worked at the Grand River Conservation Authority as well as the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, and also at the Government of Alberta. So we all welcomed Nigel this week, and he will get an opportunity to meet the board eventually. Like Member Kawal said, our strategic plan is moving as planned. NPCA staff will be engaged in a facilitated engagement session next week. There will be opportunities for watershed community to provide input in the coming months. And finally, NPCA has been invited to sit by the Niagara Chamber of Commerce to sit or participate on their Government Affairs Council. So I'll be joining that. That's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have Member Woodhouse would like to either ask a question or make a comment. Go ahead, sir. Yours.
My question is, as it relates to the pandemic, I see that I'm hearing this third wave thing, and I think it's obvious it's coming. So it's mid-March. So now we get into the spring with more challenges along those lines. And what I was thinking is that as we've experienced this past year of this pandemic and how we've had to adjust to it and modify the way in which we're doing our business, I would hope that at some point, maybe once the dust is settled somewhat and the vaccination programs are well implemented, and we're starting to put this thing behind us, hopefully, in many ways, that senior staff can look at the whole operation in terms of opportunities or ways in which to change based on what we've experienced through this period of time. I think there's a lot of learning that's gone on as a result of that, and some preconceived notions or habits that we've been accustomed to in terms of how we operate can be reviewed and changed. It would seem to me it'd be a good time to do it. So I just offer that comment, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Woodhouse. And I see CAO Sharma is shaking her head yes, and I think we've all learned a lot from this whole process. Member Beattie, is your little helper there?
She just left. First of all, a question and a request. This latest staff hiring, does that fill all the boxes on the org chart now?
No, we've done, sorry, through you, Chair Johnson. Yes, we've done most of the hiring that was required as part of our 2020 plan. There are some positions that we are gapping. They are sitting vacant on the chart.
Thank you. Members, Beattie?
Could I request an updated org chart, please?
Absolutely.
I'm sure that Misty has one ready.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love org charts. It puts the names to the positions for me. So thank you. No other questions? Member Houston.
Thank you, Chair. My mic is in my computer, so I'm going to just get closer to my computer and hope that works out.
Sounds great. No, when you do that, it sounds better. Thank you.
So I just wanted to point out that CAO Sharma and I also participated in a Trout Unlimited, presentation that featured some of the Toronto Conservation Authority, and it was on low impact development and green infrastructure, and I thought it was amazing, very interesting information. It really gave me high hopes for some of the potential development and infrastructure that we need in Niagara, at least for some of our growth. I actually did take that back to the region, and I asked if somehow our planning and public works could review the presentation and incorporate it into some of their professional development, because I think there's a lot of projects coming down the pipe for us where I can envision some of this infrastructure being built. So I just wanted to note that too. I think there were some of our board members who participated, and I was very encouraged and impressed by the information that they shared.
Well, thank you for attending. That was wonderful. Thank you. Any other comments before we close off?
Member Rapp.
Bill?
Oh, Member Rapley, sorry. My apologies.
Just a quick comment because there won't be reports back yet, but the Niagara Bird Festival was last weekend, and I think Bruce was asking about it, but it was all online this year. And Carrie Royer did some representation from the NPCA. The Marcy Jacqueline was a big organizer for this. The Buffalo side did their part because the Buffalo end of it was involved. Last year we had an open house at the Glen facility with Niagara Parks, and it was fantastic. But this year everything was online. There wasn't the field trips and so on, but there was a whole wave of really excellent talks Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they're online. If you go into the Niagara Bird Festival and connect, you can look at them. And some of them on surprisingly, unbelievably great restoration projects on the Buffalo side were really there. And as you know, the Ramsar approval went through on the US side, and on the Canadian side, it is on hold, but we need to take a look at that in the long run because I think it would be wonderful for the region. We may have some resistance right now from the political end of it, but there's no reason for that really. So I just wanted to mention that this is the only international bird festival that I'm aware of that involves Canada and the United States. Talks were from both sides, and we're part of a group that wants to make Niagara an attraction for birders and ecologists and hikers and everything to come here to stimulate tourism. And as you know, the conservation areas we have will be a great part of that. So it's really important. But it was a really good thing, and you can check on the website and look at the various talks that have been offered. Okay?
Thank you. That's a great update. Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, I forgot where I left off. So I'm going to make it. So Member Steele just joined us again. So moved by Member Steele, seconded by Member Smith to receive the update from our CAO. Any objections? Seeing none, thank you. So now, folks, just for the public consumption, there are going to be no motions coming out of our in-camera session. So we're going to stop recording as soon as we go into closed session. But before we go into closed session, we need to appoint a recording secretary for the closed section. I'm sorry, folks. We just need to make sure that we keep things transparent and that it's on the record. Any volunteers, please? Oh, come on. Thank you, Member Hewson. You're the best. So folks, before we go into closed session, please make sure you're either using your headphones or you close the doors to the room that you are in to ensure that this stays in closed session. All other staff, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We wish you all the best for the next month, but please leave. And Grant, I believe you're going to be the last one on, and we're going to just ensure everybody's out, except those who need to be here.